The news in this video could not have come at a better time. The Supreme Court here in Canada has ruled that a very woke liberal rule that was put in place to basically stop production of oil in Alberta has been deemed unlawful. We're going to be taking a look at that, which means that Canada is finally going to get back to producing oil. And the reason it couldn't have come at a better time is because of the war that's happening in Israel, between Israel and Palestine or Gaza, where Qatar has warned to cut gas exports if attacks on Gaza continue, which is insane. So in support of all of this, I have come out with new stickers. I love Canadian oil and gas. The link for that is down in the description or the pinned comment below. Grab your stickers. Very, very short, limited amount of these stickers are available for purchase. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. This is going to be awesome. You're going to want to buckle up, stick around for the entire thing, because this is a victory against the woke radical left here in Canada. Before we do, I want to encourage you to give a like and subscribe if you haven't yet already. Really helps grow the channel, as well as I hope you consider turning on post notifications by now so you can be notified of upcoming videos. We're fighting Trudeau's own personal algorithm. We're fighting YouTube suppression, government suppression. There's so many things we're up against, so that's why it's important to be in the know-how. And of course, we're going to start off with the face of when the Supreme Court lights your life's work on fire. Stephen Guilbeault, who is very notorious for basically wearing an orange jumpsuit before he was an elected Liberal member of Parliament, and he climbed the CN Tower, and now people are thinking, hey, maybe he's going to climb a Calgary Tower or jump off of it, because who knows? His entire life's work just got lit on fire. Where the Supreme Court has ruled environmental impact legislation is largely unconstitutional. Majority of top court agreed that the Act's designated projects scheme exceeds bounds of federal jurisdiction. Wow. So that means that now there is tangible proof. And also Danielle Smith has apologized for the federal mandates that were put in place, and I have a different video for that. But it's now proven, you're seeing time and time again now, especially recently, that it's proven that the federal government goes above and beyond what they're allowed to do. Just because it's the government, just because it's the feds, doesn't mean that what they're saying is true or that they're allowed to do that. People abuse power all the time. You see this with police officers. You see this with government. And why are people, they have these little blinders on? And they're pretending that it doesn't happen here in Canada with our federal government. Well, it's just been ruled at the highest level that they, in fact, did overstep their boundaries. And so this is a massive win and victory for Canada. And believe me, we need that here, because we did not see that coming. Canada's top court has delivered a highly anticipated judgment, writing in a majority opinion that Ottawa's Impact Assessment Act, IAA, is largely unconstitutional. The IAA, previously known as Bill C-69, allows federal regulators to consider the potential environmental and social impacts of various resource and infrastructure projects. It was enacted in 2019. The IAA has long been controversial among conservative politicians in Alberta, including former Premier Jason Kenney, who frequently referred to it as the No More Pipelines Act. And you're going to see that verbiage pop up a few more times in this video, because it's been labeled as the No More Pipelines Act. And Canada's sitting on like the second, third, or fourth largest oil reserve in the entire world. We are sitting literally on liquid gold and actual gold here in Canada. And our radical, woke, left, liberal government is saying, no, it's unethical to dig for gold. Probably they're going to say that if they haven't yet already, to get oil out of the ground and to do any of that stuff here in Canada, because that's bad for the environment and bad for climate change. So let's outsource it to the Middle East, because climate change doesn't exist there. It doesn't make any sense. We all know that Western society has insanely higher standards. Insanely. Like, our police training is way more sophisticated than what's in the Middle East. Our military training is way more sophisticated than what's in the Middle East. Our rules and regulations are way more sophisticated than what's in the Middle East, which is why historically things are somewhat more peaceful here than they are in the Middle East, just in terms of civilian day-to-day life. And so when it comes to rules and regulations, it feels like Canada's bar is set way up there, but we're going to ignore the climate change reasons and outsource it to people whose bar is way down there, which means that they're probably doing it in a very unethical way, in a way that ruins the environment, which is what the Liberals have been preaching. So it's very hypocritical to just turn a blind eye and say, well, it's not happening here, so it's better for the environment. No. And Alberta's Premier, Danielle Smith, is all over this. She's saying Alberta wins and Canada wins. I'll have more to say at 11:30 a.m., which she has said more, and we're going to take a look at that right now. Here we go.
Guilbeault does not seem to acknowledge how badly he lost. And Wilkinson, I heard him say that he hopes that this is the last time that we end up going to court. Well, there's one way to assure that. They need to drop their clean electricity regulations, and they need to drop their emissions cap. That will be the way that we can assure that we can come to the table and work together. The entire reason we ended up in the Supreme Court was because the federal government acted illegally. They ignored the provinces. They ignored the Senate. And they ignored the many partners who have opposed this unconstitutional law all along, and creating the uncertainty that led to the withdrawal of projects like Teck's Frontier Mine that would have brought $20.6 billion in investment and thousands of jobs across the country. Enough is enough. It is time for Ottawa to stop legislating in provincial jurisdiction and work with us on shared goals. And that's why we call on the federal government to learn from the Supreme Court's decision that their ongoing efforts to seize regulatory control over the electricity grid and natural resource sectors of the provinces is unconstitutional, and it's illegal. They do not have the right to thwart the economy, livelihoods, and future of any Albertans or any Canadians.
Yeah, there you go. The government has overstepped their boundaries. And this is what happens when you have a bunch of suits and ties in Ottawa making the rules on things that they just don't know. The federal politicians in Ottawa have no idea how clean oil is here in Canada, how necessary it is, because all they do is they look at pieces of paper or data points on a spreadsheet and they make decisions that impact all of Canada and essentially the entire world. I mean, I feel like gas would be so much more affordable if we just used our own instead of outsourcing it to other countries. And if the federal government wants to continue with this carbon tax, then why not just use our own gas? And that would create a massive difference in price than using dirty Saudi oil, which is what they kind of call it anyway. So it's very bizarre, but I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you view this as a victory? Are you a crazy tree hugger that says, no, we should all be electric? I'd really love to know what you guys think down below. And I've got obviously more content ready to go about this. On Twitter, you have Eva that says, huge win for Alberta. The Supreme Court of Canada has ruled against the federal government's impact assessment law. In a decision released this morning, 5 out of 7 judges found most of the Impact Assessment Act, which used to be called Bill C-69, to be unconstitutional because it ultimately seeks to regulate activities within provincial jurisdiction. Chief Justice Richard Wagner, writing to the majority, said, federal powers don't cover the list of projects subject to federal review under the Act. Wagner wrote the impacts of those projects must be within federal jurisdiction for an act to be constitutional. And this is we're really finding out that, hey, Canada's not completely compromised. I mean, there's a lot of problems within Canada and our parliamentary system, right? How is Justin Trudeau, like one of the world's most hated men, still in power? He has like 30 or 25% federal support, yet he is the government, like his party's the government. Like we have a lot of loopholes, a lot of weird things that happen in government that we want to just snap our fingers and change. And unfortunately, things with politics, this stuff takes years to change. And I don't think our actual parliamentary system will ever really get a revamp, but that's besides the point. What is the point is that this is a big win. This is fantastic because the federal government has, as I've mentioned previously, had this in place since 2019. And it's taken between 2019 and now to basically reverse it. And so we're finding out that, hey, if the government overstepped their boundaries and are starting to, now it's coming out that, hey, they didn't have the right to regulate provincial matters. What else have they done? Where does it end? And so you're going to find a lot more of these situations are probably going to come up. And it's fantastic because Alberta is obviously one of the most, if not the most conservative province here in Canada. And I don't know who would be second. I don't know if it would be Saskatchewan or BC. I think BC is just politically more like NDP and Liberal, unfortunately, which really sucks. And I'm sure that's going to piss off a lot of my BCers that watch this and be like, no, man, we're conservative here. I get it. Yeah, I am as well, way more conservative than I am any other party. But just when you look at the map, it is what it is, right? And so let's take a look at what else is being said here. It's from William on Twitter. The world needs more Canadian oil and gas. Foreign countries are asking for our LNG. Bill C-69, no more pipeline bill, prevents us from exploiting our oil the best we can. It hurts our economy, but mainly Alberta and BC. The bill makes us dependent on foreign countries, which would be dirty Saudi oil. I am glad it was found to be largely unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. Let me smash a like on that because it is fantastic news, and I'm sure Albertans all over are celebrating. I mean, people have been protesting this for, years and years and years. And yeah, it's just very fantastic. And again, if you want to show your support for how much you love oil here in Canada, the link for that is down in the description below. Let's take a look at what Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party, has to say about this.
Today we learned that the Supreme Court of Canada has found Justin Trudeau's no new pipeline anti-resource law unconstitutional. Yes, Justin Trudeau, with the help of the NDP, has violated the constitutional rights of Canadians to develop their own natural resources. He has blocked natural gas liquefaction facilities. He has blocked lithium, cobalt, and other mines. He has prevented Canadians from producing resources and bringing home powerful paychecks. He's done it all to appeal to a radical NDP agenda that wants to leave all of our resources in the ground and all the money in the pockets of dictators.
Imagine for a second that if you're living in like a city or in a populated area or a cul-de-sac or whatever it is, right? Just imagine that you live out on a piece of land, like you got an acreage, right? A couple acres, whatever it is, a few acres, right? You're on sewer, you're on a well, you're not on city hookups, you have electricity, and maybe you have Starlink or Shaw Cable or whatever it is because the city doesn't have fiber optic where you are. So just imagine, just let me paint that scenario. And some of you viewers, I'm sure, don't have to paint it because that's probably your life and your reality. Now imagine you live right next to a lake or a river and there's a lot of fish there and you'd like to go fishing. And the government of Canada, the federal government says, well, we know that you would like to get free food out of there, but we're going to limit how many you get, and we're also going to monitor how you go about the fishing, even though it's on your land. Now, you don't have to really imagine that because Canada is notorious for cracking down on fishing, on hunting, and all those things. And I'm not getting into the specifics of, like the spawn population and how there's a lot of poachers out there and things like that. But the point of this is that the federal government oversteps their boundaries on so many things. We're seeing this on the gun grab. We're seeing this within our fisheries department, our hunting department. I mean, for crying out loud, you can't support yourself. You can't support yourself off of the land because Canada is basically trying to say, nah, you need to go buy our very overpriced groceries. And you can't even get your own oil out of the ground. Not that we have the abilities to do that ourselves independently or individually, but as a province, as a municipality, absolutely the resources are there in place to do that. And the federal government is always trying to say, no, you must rely on us and it has to be our way. There are no options. This is not capitalism. This is communism. And many, many people are falling for that trap and just blindly saying, yeah, of course. Oh, I agree. More regulation, more this and more that. And it's very unfortunate because Canada is so prosperous. We have so much vast land. We have so many lakes. We have beautiful oceans. We have beautiful land. We have so many minerals in our ground. And our stupid government is trying to say, well, we know that all those things are there, but let's outsource it from third world countries, from the Middle East. Let's just get it elsewhere because ethics. morals. Why not? And it's very unfortunate because Canada has a real shot and a real opportunity to be a way more thriving country than what we are now. A lot of people would argue that Canada's fine, Canada's great. And for the most part, Canada is in a good state when you compare it to other countries in the world. But we see how other countries are in the world, and they got there somehow. And that somehow, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much with the same exact leadership that we have now. Radical idiots leading our country into the inevitable demise of a civilization. Well, that's a deep, dark note, so let's end it on something a little bit more positive. If you love Canadian oil and gas, you can purchase a sticker down below in the description or the pinned comment of this video. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope it was informative to some extent, and I will see you guys in the next one. Not before you smash that like button, check to see if you're subscribed, and turn that bell notification on. And now you hope you've done it, so I'll see you next one. Bye for now.